Hello everyone, I'm Richard, and today Antonio and I are going to walk you through the process of installing patio pavers. Whether you're looking to enhance your outdoor space with a patio or create a functional pathway, this project is a rewarding way to add style and value to your home.
That's right, and in this workshop, we'll cover everything you need to know about installing patio pavers. We'll discuss the different types of pavers available and how to choose the right one for your project. A detailed step-by-step process for installing pavers, and even maintenance tips to keep your pavers looking great. Then we'll go over all of the tools and materials that you'll need, as well as address some frequently asked questions and a summary of what we covered today. By the end of this workshop, you'll have the confidence to tackle this DIY project yourself. So Richard, let's jump in.
Let's do that. So before we get started, please know that this is a physically demanding project. However, it's manageable with the right tools, materials, and preparation. A few things to keep in mind. When choosing the location for your paver patio, it's important to consider both practical and aesthetic factors. Start by evaluating the purpose of the patio, whether it's for outdoor dining, lounging, or creating a pathway, possibly, right? And select an area that complements its intended use. For example, a patio used for entertaining is best placed close to the house for easy access to the kitchen or living areas, while a peaceful garden pathway may fit better in a more secluded spot. Pay close attention to the site's natural conditions. Ensure the location has proper drainage, as water pooling can cause long-term damage to your patio. Avoid areas with excessive tree roots or uneven terrain, which can make the installation more difficult and lead to future shifting. Additionally, check for sufficient sunlight or shade based on how you plan to use the space. A sunny spot might be ideal for lounging, but shade could be preferable for a dining area with the whole family, right? Finally, make sure to confirm there are no underground utilities or pipes in the chosen area by contacting your local utility companies. Now, before you begin digging, that's one of the most important parts. To contact your local utilities.
Give them a quick call.
Make a quick call. I think it's 811.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, 811. That's right. So, proper planning ensures your patio is both functional and durable. If you have an extra set of hands, like I have Antonio here, it's always best to do these larger DIY projects with a partner.
Yeah, a little help goes a long way, and those are great points you made, Richard. And if you live in a cold climate, because I'm from New York City, so you're going to want to consider how that freeze-thaw cycle impacts the stability of these pavers. So proper installation and a solid base are essential to avoid issues down the line. And before we get into the install, Richard, let's talk a little bit about pavers, because there are three main types.
Okay.
We've got concrete pavers that are really durable, they're very affordably priced, and they come in different shapes and sizes. Then we have brick pavers.
Yep.
This is that classic, long-lasting look, but they do require just a bit more upkeep.
Okay.
All right, now last but not least, the most luxurious option are natural stone pavers. They're unique, but they come at a higher cost. They're a bit more expensive and can be a bit more challenging to install.
Interesting. So, yeah, normally for me, natural stone will give you that more luxury look.
Yeah.
But remember, it's a natural stone, so it might come in uneven cuts. And that's something you need to plan for.
Absolutely.
Right? Bricks, for example, they come perfectly cut in rectangles and they'll fit close together.
Yep.
So it depends what type of pattern you're looking for.
Yeah, something like this is going to make that project really quick to plan, install, whereas other factors, the natural stone might be a little bit more challenging.
Exactly. And look at these pavers. Watch this. So these two, if you can actually see that, they have curves in them.
Yep.
Right?
So it's not a perfect
Not perfect,
rectangle.
but the other one has it as well. So look how easy they go together.
Yep.
Right? So that's going to ensure you less flex throughout the years. So all of these choices are things you have to consider when you're choosing your pavers.
A lot of options.
Awesome, right? So you'll also want to think about patterns. Patterns also play a big role in the final look. Options like running bond and herringbone create a unique aesthetic. For example, a herringbone pattern is great for those high traffic areas because it locks the pavers in place, while a running bond pattern is simple but it looks great for patios. Choose a material and pattern that complements your outdoor space. Now, when laying pavers, ensuring a consistent pattern can be one of the most challenging aspects, especially for beginners, right? But later in the workshop, we'll also show you tips for transitioning from one row to the next and how to handle corners and edges.
Yeah, and by now, hopefully, we've knocked out the hardest part. You've chosen your paver style and the pattern type. So now it's time to start that process.
Okay.
So the first step is preparation. So determine the exact dimensions of your patio. A typical patio size is around 12 by 12 feet. But if you need something more compact, maybe go with a 8 by 10.
Sure.
Or if you need something larger, go with a 20 by 20. Once you confirm your choice, use stakes, spray paint, or string to outline the perimeter. And to ensure your patio is square, measure diagonally from one corner to the opposite corner, and then repeat that process for the other diagonal.
Nice.
Now, if these measurements don't match up, simply adjust the stakes and strings as needed. Once both measurements are equal, your layout is square. Simple, and this is really just going to help prevent misalignment for the patterns later down the road. You're also going to want to make sure to remove any obstacles, things like patio furniture, plants, or general debris from that designated area. This will give you a clean slate to work with, and it's going to help you focus on what matters most, the layout.
That's correct. And drainage, because drainage is one of the most important aspects when installing pavers. Your patio should slope away from your home at least a 1/4 inch per foot grade. If you're installing pavers over a 10-foot span, the slope should drop about 2.5 inches over those 10 feet. So real quick, you have 10 feet, you multiply that by 1/4 inch per foot, that equals to 2.5 inches. This ensures water will run off the patio instead of pooling and causing damage to the pavers, or even worse, your home's foundation.
All right.
Okay? Use a line level attached to a string to verify the slope. If you're working on a large patio, consider creating sort of a slight central ridge and sloping the patio downward in 2 directions for even better water management.
Now, Richard, those are great points, but one quick question. How many pavers are we going to need for this type of project?
I would say probably more than what you think. Yeah. I always go with that, okay? You can either calculate it by hand, or you can use the paver calculator found on homedepot.com, which is linked in the resources guides below, which you can download, okay?
Absolutely.
The Home Depot paver calculator offers several key benefits that simplify planning and ensuring the success of your outdoor paver project. By using this tool, you can accurately estimate the materials needed, reducing guesswork and minimizing waste. Now, to use the Home Depot paver calculator, begin by visiting the Home Depot website at homedepot.com. In the search bar located at the top of the home page, type paver calculator and press enter. On this page, you'll be prompted to enter specific project details, such as dimensions of your patio, pathway, or driveway. Start by inputting the measurements for the length and the width of your desired paver area in feet. So for example, the standard patio size is 12 by 12 feet. If your project has a unique shape, consider dividing it into smaller rectangles or squares and calculate each section separately for accuracy. Once all fields are filled out, the calculator will automatically generate the quantity of pavers, base material, sand, and edging needed for your project, okay? Review the results carefully, noting the suggested amounts. To account for cutting and potential mistakes, which are probably
Murphy's Law.
it's gonna happen, consider purchasing an additional 10 to 15% of pavers beyond that calculated total. Lastly, you can add the listed materials directly to your online shopping cart or print the list to take with you on your next visit to the Home Depot store. This convenient tool simplifies planning, ensuring you have all the materials needed for a successful paver installation project.
Yeah, and that's a great tool. I love it. And there's even more tools online that
sure.
you could always check out. But now that we've marked that area, it's time to go ahead and proceed with removing the grass and soil so that we can prepare the area for the pavers. Now, if there's grass in the space, start by using a sod cutter or a flat shovel to remove it. A sod cutter is ideal for larger areas because it cuts beneath the grass and the roots. Makes this a lot easier so you can roll it up and remove the sod in neat sections. This leaves a cleaner surface to work with. Now, if you don't have that sod cutter, a flat shovel is going to work fine, but it just takes a little more sweat equity, right? So you're going to get your workout on with that. Once the grass is removed, start digging out the soil. So you'll need to excavate to a depth of about 6 to 8 inches. This is ideal to allow room for several items like 4 to 6 inches of that base material, whether it's crushed stone or gravel, about 1 to 2 inches of bedding sand, and the thickness of your pavers, which is usually around 2 to 3 inches. Now, as you dig, we're going to recommend periodically measure the depth with a tape measure just to ensure that it's consistent across the area. Uneven excavation will create issues when you start laying down those pavers, and trust, you'll get frustrated and regret every decision if you don't do this.
That's true, Antonio. I remember when you're talking 10 by 10, 20 by 20, digging 6 to 8 inches down.
Yeah, it adds up quick.
It adds up, and that's a lot of dirt you're going to have to move. So get ready for that and be sure to have another partner with you. It's going to help in the long run. So all good points, Antonio. The goal here is for your pavers to end up several inches higher than your ground level, right? If the pavers are the same level as your grass or your ground, then you will have water pooling water pooling, which eventually in the future is going to damage your pavers.
Water is the enemy here for your pavers.
That's correct. You want no standing water. So as you're digging, it's important to make sure the area is as level as possible, right? Because an uneven surface can lead to shifting pavers and drainage problems. Once you've removed the grass and the soil, it's time to check if the area is level. And remember, having that sloped correctly, okay? Remember, you will need a small amount of slope to present in this step since this lays the foundation for everything that will be on top of it and ensures proper drainage, okay? So real quick, before we keep moving on, I want you to look at this little tool we have here. So this is a line level, right? Obviously, it's a level that goes on a line that attaches to it, clips on it like this, right? So it hangs. And let's get it here. There it is. Okay. So that's your line level. So imagine having 10 foot of this line, right, with your level, and this is going to help you tell you at what degree, degree your slope is. For instance, if you calculated that you needed 1/8 of an inch for every foot, then you follow the bubble, it's going to tell you that's the amount of slope you need for 1/8 of an inch, and it's going to help you along the way. It's a really important tool, must be needed. It's amazing. Cool. Awesome. So place a straight 2x4 board or a leveling screed board across the surface of the excavated area. Rest a bubble level on the board and check for any dips or high spots. Move the board around the areas, okay, different sections of the area. You want to move it around. Don't keep it in one place to ensure the entire space is level. If you notice low spots, add a thin layer of soil or sand to fill it in. Use a rake to spread the material evenly, a metal rake, okay? Not the one you use for your leaves.
Not a plastic one.
A metal rake, you're gonna need it. And then compact it with a hand tamper or a plate compactor to ensure it's stable. Now, you may not own a plate compactor, right? Which in this case, you can rent one.
Yep.
You can rent it directly from the Home Depot tool rental. And since this is a large item, you may want to use or rent a pickup truck to carry this around. Unless you got a really big SUV and you can put that in there, then you can go for that too.
Maybe you got a friend or neighbor that has one, right?
True.
But either way, there's options here, and these are great points. But I want to focus a little bit on those high spots because it's really important that you scrape away any excess soil with that shovel, and again, continue to recheck the level in a variety of ways that we're talking about here.
Yeah.
This step is really critical because an uneven surface down the road is going to cause problems for your pavers where they can shift or they can really crack over time. So once that area is level, compact the soil to create a firm foundation. You're going to do this multiple times throughout this process. Just keep in mind, for smaller spaces, a hand tamper might work really well. All right, this is simply just getting that tool, pressing it down firmly, and moving in a systematic manner across the surface.
Yeah.
But if you have a larger area, like a 20 by 20, we really recommend using that plate compactor that we talked about.
Right.
It's faster. It ensures a denser, more even surface, even though it's going to take a little more time, and it's a big piece of machinery.
I mean, if you're looking to get really big arms, that's one way of doing it. That
Get your workout on.
Exactly. So here's a great tip. Lightly mist the soil with water before you compact it. Damp soil compacts more effectively, which will give you a stronger base for those pavers.
Yeah, especially if you live like in the southeast, you got some of that red clay, it's a little tougher to work with.
That's right.
A little bit of water goes a long way.
Yeah.
Now,
just a little bit.
Richard, after we check that, we've compacted everything, what are we going to do? Check to make sure it's level again using that 2x4 board, that bubble level. And if any areas are still uneven, again, repeat the process. A well-leveled surface at this stage, it's going to save you a lot of trouble, like we mentioned, later down the road when you're putting these pavers into place.
And again, we talked about level, and we're going to talk about
Drainage.
right? And don't forget about the drainage. While you want the area to be level, your patio should still have that 1/4 inch per foot slope away from your home or structures to allow for proper water runoff. Use a line level attached to your string, right? Like we mentioned before. These are used to verify the slope as you go. Now that the area is leveled and compacted, you're ready to move on to adding the base material. Take your time here. This is the step, right? This is the foundation for the entire project.
Yeah, and as you said, Richard, this is the base material that's crucial because it's supporting the weight of the pavers. It helps with that drainage, and it prevents shifting over time.
Yep.
Now, traditionally, this is going to involve using crushed stone or gravel, but you can also consider a more modern approach with paver-based panels, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But if you're using that crushed stone or gravel, ideally spread a layer of about 4 to 6 inches across the excavated area. For areas with heavy foot traffic, we're going to suggest maybe go a little more, things like a driveway or vehicles.
Yep.
You're going to want a thicker lay of maybe about 8 inches. So again, you get that added stability. Use that rake, like Richard mentioned, to evenly distribute that base material across the area. But just take your time because you want to make sure that there's even thickness across. Now, after spreading this base material, compact it thoroughly using that hand tamper, or again, a plate compactor for the larger areas for faster and better results overall.
Yeah. Another quick tip. If you're adding more than 4 inches of base layer, compact the first layer, then add the next layer and compact again. This ensures a denser, more stable foundation. So let's talk about that. Here's an example. If you're planning to lay down 6 inches of base material, lay down 3 inches first, compact, then lay down your next 3 inches, and guess what? Compact that again. This will make sure the whole thickness of the base material, that whole 6 inches of base material, is compacted, and not only that top layer.
Yeah, and exactly. Because the thing is, and as you're compacting, make at least a couple passes. So at least 2 passes with that compactor or that hand tamper, or more if the material still feels a little bit loose under your feet. All right, trust your gut on this. If you're walking around and you're like, I notice this is a little weird. Now, if you notice any low spots after compacting, add more crushed stone or gravel to fill them in and compact it again. Now, if you're looking again for that lightweight, efficient alternative, you're like, man, Antonio, Richard, I don't know if I want to do all this. This sounds like a lot of heavy work. Simplify it with those paver-based panels that we talked about instead of the traditional crushed stone or gravel. These panels, they are durable, they're lightweight, and that's all because of the way that it's constructed with the material. And they're designed to replace several inches of base material, which simplifies the install, makes it a little less of a workout with this project. Now, with paver-based panels, you only need a thin layer of leveling sand, about a 1/2 inch thick, and that's to smooth out the surface before placing the panels on top of it. Lay the panels directly on top of that compacted sand and ensure they fit snugly together. It's like doing a puzzle, all right? So if you're a puzzle fan, perfect solution right here. Most panels come with interlocking edges, so that helps, again, like that puzzle, to snugly fit together.
Yeah, these paver-based panels are great for DIYers because they're lightweight and easy to handle. They reduce the amount of heavy lifting.
Yeah, it's a it's a game changer.
It is a game changer. It's a great option. They also improve drainage and can help prevent the shifting over time. Another advantage of paver-based panels is that they drastically reduce the amount of crushed stone and sand needed. For example, using panels can replace 4 to 6 inches of gravel and most of the sand layer, making the process faster and a lot less labor intensive. Plus, they're eco-friendly option as they're often made out of recycled materials. Regardless of whether you're using crushed stone, gravel, or these new paver-based panels, leveling is key. Use the same leveling process as before.
All right, so now once your base is set, it's compacted and leveled, you're ready to move on to the next step, adding the bedding sand or placing your pavers directly on the panels. This layer is essential for creating a level surface and ensures the pavers sit evenly. Start by adding a layer of coarse bedding sand, about 1 to 2 inches thick, across the entire patio area. And to ensure the sand is leveled and the correct thickness, place 2 lengths of PVC pipes, that's right, we said PVC pipes, which are the same height and as the thickness you are looking for in the bedding sand on top of the compacted base material. These will act as tracks to guide you as you level the sand. Position the PVC pipes parallel to each other, spaced about 3 to 4 feet apart.
Yeah. So use a bubble level to check that the PVC pipes are at the same height and maintain the slope you set for drainage. Next, you're going to pour that bedding sand across and between the PVC pipes. Use a 2x4 screed board to smooth and level the sand layer. Rest the board on the PVC pipes and slowly drag it across the sand in a back and forth motion. This process ensures the sand is evenly distributed and creates a flat, level surface for your pavers. Work in small sections at a time to maintain control and accuracy. If you notice any low spots, add more sand and re-screed that area. As you screed, periodically check the sand with a level and confirm it's even and follows the proper slope.
Yep, that's right. So now once you've leveled the sand in one section, carefully remove those PVC pipes. You'll be left with narrow grooves where those pipes were. Go ahead and fill in these grooves with more paver sand, and then use a trowel or the edge of a screed board to smooth and level these areas.
Yeah, definitely. For me, these PVC pipes are a great option. It maintains, right, like we mentioned before, you want to make sure that the height of that PVC pipe is what you're looking for. That way you know that you're adding the right amount of sand for your paver base.
Yep.
Now, once you're messing around with the sand, you're sort of playing sandcastles, right? You're taking your time. You want that sand to be nice and smooth. Sometimes if you're using a normal 2x4 piece of wood as a screed board, you might, while you're pulling down, it might be a sharp edge and it causes grooves. You don't want those grooves there. So here's an alternative. You can use a magnesium float, okay? This is a magnesium float. What this does, since it's made out of magnesium, it's basically like a non-stick material. And you're gonna be able to work it around the sand and make it as smooth as possible. Remember, the flatter surface you have for your pavers, the better result you're gonna have. Whatever you have below your pavers is gonna show on your pavers. So this is a great tool to make sure that you have no grooves in your sand and it comes out nice and polished.
That was smooth. That was smooth.
See what you did there. See what you did there. Good stuff, right? So here's where attention to detail, it really matters. I'm still laughing because of your joke. It was a good one.
I know.
So avoid stepping onto the leveled sand as you work. If you disturb the surface, you'll need to re-screed that area again, which takes extra time. To stay organized, plan your work area so you don't accidentally work yourself into a corner. Move systematically from one section to the next, making sure each area is complete before moving on.
That's right. And once that entire area is covered with leveling sand, do a final check, walk around the perimeter, and not on the sand. So remember, around the perimeter, don't disturb all that great work you did.
That's right.
And do a visual inspection of the surface for any irregularities. Use that screed board or a level to make any last minute adjustments, because again, the goal here is just to create as perfectly smooth of a surface that's even, so that you can properly support your pavers so that they don't shift over time. With your sand layer leveled and ready to go, now comes the exciting part. We are laying down the pavers, Richard.
Finally.
You made it here, right? So you want to create a strong and visually appealing patio or pathway. It's crucial to start with a plan and follow a consistent pattern. Begin by laying your first row of pavers along a straight edge, such as the edge of your string line, a wall, or another hard surface. Now, if you're working on a larger patio, this straight edge serves as your anchor, and it's going to ensure your pavers stay aligned as you work. Place each paver gently into the leveled sand. Avoid sliding the pavers across the sand. You don't want to disturb that foundation, because this can disrupt that surface and create uneven spots. Instead, lower them straight down into position like Richard is showing here. And if you're working with multiple pallets of pavers, pull from several pallets at a time so that you can mix them up, and it kind of creates a more consistency because there's going to be color variation.
It looks more natural. It looks more natural, for sure.
This is going to give your patio, like Richard said, a more natural, uniform appearance, and it prevents any noticeable patches of darker or lighter pavers.
Excellent. And as you progress, periodically check the alignment of your pavers. Use a level or a straight edge to ensure everything is staying even. If you notice any pavers sitting too high or too low, remove them. Adjust the sand underneath and reposition them.
And to maintain that consistent spacing between the pavers, use spacers which can easily be made from a cut piece of wood. Proper spacing is important because it creates clean grout lines and prevents pavers from shifting over time. It's almost like if you're taking on a bathroom project or a tile project in your kitchen, same kind of ideology or principles apply. For most projects, an 1/8 of an inch gap is standard, but always follow the recommendations for the specific pavers you're using. Those manufacturer instructions can vary slightly. Work in small sections, one row or one pattern block at a time. And this keeps the sand from being disturbed and allows you to focus on achieving even placement.
And before we keep moving on, you talked about tiles and bathroom projects. Be sure to check out our on-demand library. We have a new workshop. It's called How to Install Tiles on a Shower.
There you go.
So more or less the same concept of laying down tiles and the spacing and all that. It's a great workshop. Now, avoid stepping on areas where pavers are already laid. If you need to reach for a different section, use a plank or a board to distribute your weight evenly across the pavers. This prevents disturbing the sand and keeps everything pretty much leveled.
All right, now once you've laid a section, do a quick alignment check. Use a straight edge or string line to confirm the edges are still straight and even. This is your chance to make small adjustments again before moving on to the next section. And for obstacles like corners, pipes, or curves, you'll need to measure and cut pavers to fit. Cutting pavers is a step you'll only need to do if it's necessary. And this step allows you to achieve a clean finish by ensuring the pavers fit snugly in areas where full-size pieces won't necessarily work.
Cutting pavers generates dust and debris. So safety is a top priority. Always wear safety goggles, gloves, dust mask, or respirator and hearing protection.
What?
Was that?
I'm sorry. I didn't wear hearing protection. But start by identifying the pavers that need to be cut. Use a grease pencil or a chalk marker, even a Sharpie could work, to outline the area of the paver that needs trimming. Now, if you're working along a straight edge, place the paver over the gap it will fill, ensuring it overlaps slightly with the adjacent pavers. Then, mark the exact spot where it needs to be cut to fit perfectly. For curves or irregular shapes, use a template. You can do this by outlining it on a simple piece of cardboard and trace the desired shape onto the paver.
Using a grease pencil is a great option. These grease pencils, the good thing about them, we'll talk about this pretty soon. When you use a wet saw, the wet saw, if you were to use chalk or a normal pencil, while you're cutting with the wet saw, it's going to disappear that line.
It's going to wash it away.
It's going to wash it away. So with these wax pencils, let's say you're using this speed square, you want to cut this brick, right? You go ahead, you mark it.
And that's going to be more resilient.
That's going to be more
splash of
resilient
water.
to the water of that wet saw. So this is a great option, or a Sharpie, okay?
And again, all of this stuff is still washable, so it's not permanently staying on there.
That's correct. So double check your measurements before cutting. It's always better to measure twice and cut once to avoid wasting pavers. There are a few tools you can use to cut pavers, depending on the type of material and the precision that you need. For instance, a concrete saw or a wet saw. These are ideal for precise, straight cuts, especially with concrete or stone pavers. You can also use an angle grinder with a diamond blade. Really important, okay? Must be a diamond blade. These are great for straight or curved cuts and works well for both small adjustments and more intricate designs. You can also use a chisel and a hammer. They're perfect for quick, simple cuts, though it may not provide the cleanest edge, but they are a great choice.
Yep.
You can also use tile nippers. These are best for really small, detailed cuts, particularly with thinner or irregular shaped pavers. And for the most DIY projects, you're probably going to use a wet saw.
Yeah.
Or an angle grinder is your best for these type of cuts, right? And it's best for a clean type and professional looking cut. Now, most people do not own a wet saw, in which case you can rent one from the Home Depot Tool Rental Center. They're relatively inexpensive and it gets the job done.
Yep. Now, if you're using a concrete saw or an angle grinder, place the paver on a stable surface. Really important. So maybe use something like a workbench or a piece of scrap plywood. Align the marked cut line with the blade and cut slowly and steadily, applying even pressure to avoid cracking or chipping. Now, for wet saws, ensure the water reservoir is full to keep that blade cool and helps minimize dust. Just remember, go slow and let the tool do the work. Rushing through this cut, it just increases the risk of cracking the paver or making an uneven cut.
Yeah, cutting pavers is a step you may not need to do for every project, but when it's necessary, take your time, and using the right tools will ensure a perfect fit and a professional finish. With the cuts complete, you're ready to move on to laying the final pavers and finishing your patio or your pathway.
Now, adding edging stones or plastic restraints, it's an optional step, but it's really highly recommended. Edging serves a couple purposes. It keeps the pavers securely in place over time, and it provides a clean finish edge to your patio or your pathway. Without these edges, pavers are more likely to shift or spread out due to foot traffic, weather, natural settling, a lot of different factors here. Go ahead and start by selecting whichever edging material you want to use. And you can use edging stones for a decorative finish, which blends in seamlessly with the paver design, or you can use plastic paver restraints, which are less visible, but again, equally effective. Now for edging stones, lay the stones along the perimeter of your paver area. Make sure they align with the edge of the pavers and follow along any curves or angles that you may have had in your design.
Excellent. So if you are using plastic restraints, lay them along the edge of the pavers and secure them with landscape spikes, okay? Every 12 inches along the length of the restraint. For curves or tighter sections, you may need to place spikes every 6 to 8 inches to ensure the edge conforms to the shape. Now, before we move on, I want to show this type of edge that we have here. This is a very durable, stout edge, which is great when you have heavy pavers. You're going to want to use something like this, okay? Now, you're probably thinking right now, I can't bend this. So this is excellent for a straight
edge,
right? But let's say I have a curve. So what you need to do here is you need to cut these small lines. Once these are cut, that is going to permit this to start bending to whichever direction you need for your curves. But this is a great example of an edge you would need for your pavers.
Good call out there. Yeah. And then again, with those stakes, you're getting that solid foundation so that you're making those curves. It stays in place and looks beautiful.
The stakes are a necessary step.
All right, Richard. Now it's time to lock everything into place with polymeric sand. Polymeric sand is very important because it acts like a glue for your pavers, locking them into place and provides extra stability. Now this step is not only to stabilize the pavers, but it also helps prevent things like weeds and insects from creeping into the joints and messing things up with your design. Start by pouring that polymeric sand directly onto the surface of the pavers and use a push broom to sweep the sand into the joints between the pavers. Work diagonally across the paver surface to ensure the sand fills all the gaps evenly. And once that sand is swept into the joints, a great option is to use a plate compactor again to vibrate the surface. That's why we kind of recommended it before. Yeah, so think about that. That vibration, what it does, it helps the sand settle deeply into the gaps, ensuring a strong bond between the pavers. And after the first pass, you might need to add more sand to the joints and repeat the process until all the gaps are filled completely. Now, while using the compactor, make sure to move in a quick fashion. This only needs to vibrate the bricks a little bit, right? It's just a little bit to do its job and fill in those gaps. Going slow with the compactor, what that can do is it can cause actually your design to kind of shift. So those bricks, those pavers are actually going to start separating, and that's not good. But after vibrating, sweep off any remaining sand from the paver surface with a soft broom. Be thorough. Leaving excess sand on the surface can lead to a little bit of a hazy finish once that sand sets in.
Yeah, that sand is basically it's your grout joint. So just like when you're laying down tile, you got to put grout in between, which is what cements everything together. This is the same thing. So in most cases, once you have swept away or blown away the excess sand, you will need to lightly shower with water the joints.
A little mist.
Correct. For the polymeric sand to activate and start to harden. Read the manufacturer's specific instructions for this step. Some of them, they might need 1 or 2 times that you need to water them before they completely harden with that. And with that said, you're almost done. Let's move on to the finishing touches, right?
Yeah, we're like at the final mile for this marathon.
That's right.
But you're almost there, folks. And now that the pavers are laid, they're compacted, they're stabilized with that polymeric sand, it's time for the final touch, and that's applying a paver sealer. While this step is optional, again, we're recommending it because this adds protection for your patio. It enhances the appearance. Sealing protects against stains from food, drinks, natural debris like leaves, and it reduces the growth of weeds and algae. It's also going to prevent water penetration that can cause that freeze-thaw damage. So my folks up there in New York, the Northeast, do this. This is not optional for y'all. All right, it also enhances the color and the texture of the paver, so it's going to look amazing. And now here's how to apply a paver sealer. Select a sealer that's appropriate for your paver material, whether it's concrete, natural stone, whatever it may be. Sealers come in 2 main types. There's a wet look that is more glossy, and there's a natural look that's more matte.
Ensure the pavers are completely clean and dry. If needed, use a pressure washer to remove the dirt or the residue and let the surface dry for at least 24 hours before sealing. Use a pump sprayer or a paint roller to evenly apply the sealer over the pavers. Work in small sections, ensuring full coverage without pulling after application. Use a clean cloth or roller to remove any excessive or excess sealer from the surface to avoid a sticky or a cloudy finish, Allow the sealer to cure as per the manufacturer's instructions, which is typically about 24 to 48 hours. Avoid walking or placing furniture on the patio during this time. For the best results, apply the sealer on a cool, dry day when temperatures are between 50 to 85 degrees. Avoid sealing in direct sunlight or if rain is expected within 24 hours. Now that your patio is installed and sealed, let's talk about maintenance,
Absolutely, because proper care will keep your patio looking great and functioning well for years to come. Regularly sweep the surface weekly to remove dirt, leaves, and debris. For deeper cleaning, maybe use a mild detergent and water with a stiff bristle brush, but avoid using harsh chemicals that could damage that sealer. Inspect the joints regularly also for things like weed growth. And if you do notice weeds growing, remove them immediately so that they don't continue to spread. Then reapply polymeric sand as needed to refill the joints, and that's going to help inhibit that future weed growth. Then reapply the paver sealer every 2 to 3 years, or again, just check what the recommended manufacturer ratings are for that. That's going to help protect it over years to come.
That's right.
Now, my friends over in the colder climates in the Northeast, do not use metal shovels or any harsh de-icing chemicals. This can damage the pavers.
Yeah.
So I'm going to suggest opt out for something maybe like a plastic shovel and use sand or a paver-safe de-icer if you want that traction during the wintertime.
Yeah. Why damage all that investment that you just
Exactly.
did, right?
Come on.
Yeah. And don't forget to inspect your patio for annually or signs of settling or shifting. If you notice any pavers out of place, address the issue right away to avoid larger problems down the line.
Yep. And Richard, now with that inspection complete and the sealer applied, guess what? Your patio is ready to use for entertaining, lounging, whatever you want.
Nice.
So take a moment, breathe it in, and admire all that hard work that you just did, with that sweat equity. Whether it's hosting that backyard barbecue or enjoying a quiet evening outdoors, you now have a durable, beautiful space to enjoy in the outdoors.
That's what it's all about, right? And that's right. So, and by following a regular maintenance routine, your patio will look as good as it did today for years and years to come. Now let's go over the tools and materials you need for this project.
Yeah, and we talked about a lot of different tools, that flat shovel, sod cutter, and some of these you might want to rent or purchase. But I'll put a strong recommendation, that plate compactor, even for smaller ones, because we talked about how it helps with the vibration of the polymeric sand. It gives you that even surface. It really is a lifesaver. And who knows, maybe you'll want to take on a project for your neighbor, your family.
That's right.
So why not?
Excellent. So let's also now look at some of the materials you might need for this project, okay? So talk about, your crushed stone or the gravel that you're going to need, the polymeric sand, right? The bedding sand. You're going to also need the panels, right? The base panels. Those are optional, but they're excellent. And the paver sealer. You can also use what else? Apart from that, from materials, I really liked the edge.
The edge.
Yeah, that edge that we showed off is a really great edge for this type of project because it's durable and it's stout. Now, always remember, pavers, you're going to want to order at least 10 to 15% extra because you will make mistakes, especially if this is your first project on pavers.
Yep.
You will make this mistake and you never know. Maybe you end up wanting another pattern or adding somewhere else. You already have those pavers with you.
Yep, and then maybe you can repurpose the excess materials for some other stuff, maybe a garden bed or something else to bring up that curb appeal.
Perfect.
Now, quick note, for the full list of all the tools and materials we spoke about for this project, check out the resource guide below. Now, Richard, let's talk about some frequently asked questions about this patio paver project. So first question is, which paver products are the most DIY friendly?
That's a good question. So concrete pavers are considered the most DIY friendly option because of their durability, their uniform size, and wide availability.
Yep.
They are relatively lightweight compared to a natural stone and come in various shapes, sizes, and colors, making them easy to work with for creating different patterns and designs. Many manufacturers offer interlocking systems, which simplify the installation and help ensure a level and stable surface. Additionally, concrete pavers require less precision cutting, which is a time saver.
So a little more forgiving.
Correct. Compared to irregular shaped natural stones. For beginners, modular brick pavers are another great choice due to their manageable size and straightforward installation process. Now, Antonio, here's a question for you. What are the biggest factors for customer dissatisfaction on this project?
Yeah, it's like I'm not happy. And I think some of the most common causes for customers not being happy with a paver project, it's really having that uneven surface at the end of the day, whether it's pavers that are shifted or weed growth that's going through all those joints. These issues often arise from improper preparation. So we talked about, base layer. So maybe it's an insufficient base layer. Maybe it's inadequate compaction or just a failure to level the area properly.
Yeah.
Additionally, poor drainage can lead to that water pooling we talked about, which damages the overall integrity of the pavers over time. Aesthetic factors like mismatched paver colors or poorly executed patterns can also be another pain point for customers. So choosing high quality materials, following the best practices that we talked about in this workshop during that install are really crucial to avoid some of those customer pain points at this project. So let's switch it up a little bit. We're talking about this DIY projects, but when should customers not take on this paver project as a DIY?
Now, this isn't due to deter anyone or anything like that, but we provide all the necessary information to equip our customers with the knowledge and steps needed to complete this project. That said, customers should avoid taking on a paver project as a DIY task if the project involves a large area, complex patterns, or challenging site conditions, such as a steep slope or significant grading issues. Additionally, if they lack the necessary tools or experience with heavy-duty equipment like plate compactors or concrete saws, it may be better to hire a professional, professional to complete this project, right? And also, projects in regions prone to freeze-thaw cycles, they also require advanced knowledge of drainage and base preparation to prevent shifting or cracking over time. Lastly, if the customer has limited time, physical strength, or resources to complete the project, hiring a contractor can ensure a better outcome, okay? But with this workshop, if you decide not to do it yourself, but now you have all the knowledge so that when you do get a contractor, you know what he's talking about.
You can speak the lingo, you can oversight, you can help. It's still a benefit here.
Correct. So Antonio, what are common reasons for paver projects to fail?
And we talked about it a little bit before, but some of the most common reasons for paver projects to fail is really that inadequate base preparation. So we're talking about poor drainage, we're talking about improper installation techniques. So if you have that base layer and it's not thick enough, it's not compacted properly, or it's made of materials like, let's say, crushed stone or gravel, the pavers can shift. They can settle unevenly. They can crack over time. And poor leveling of that bedding sand or insufficient filling of the joints can also lead to instability. So we're looking at things maybe like neglecting drainage. That can also result again to that water issue. If you live in the Northeast and you're not considering about that freeze-thaw cycle, another big impact, and weed growth. So lastly, skipping over the critical finishing steps such as compacting the pavers and applying polymeric sand, that's going to compromise your install. And so it's really important.
Okay.
Really important to prep and to follow these, to the T when you're doing this type of project. Now to recap, today we covered a lot. We covered everything you need to know about installing patio pavers, from choosing the materials to the step-by-step installation and even maintenance tips to make sure it looks great over time. We also covered all of the tools and materials you'll need, as well as some frequently answered questions by myself and Richard. Now, with the right tools and preparation, you can transform your outdoor space into truly something that's breathtaking and spectacular.
Yeah, definitely. Foundation is key in this project.
Absolutely.
With that said, thank you for joining us today. Installing patio pavers is a fantastic DIY project that enhances your home and outdoor living. If you have any questions that were not covered in this workshop, feel free to reach out to us at workshopslive@homedepot.com or visit the Home Depot's website for more resources. And as always, thank you for choosing the Home Depot. We look forward to seeing you at our next workshop.